Hello?
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, you all, so we will call the meeting to order at the 1931. Do we have any conflicts of interest to disclose? Okay, do we have any changes to the agenda?
I have one item on my listers.
All right, so Phyllis, we'll put your listers thing right,
With my town clerk.
right at the town clerk.
Okay. And also, I'm sure it's on here, another brief discussion about Australian Balaton.
That's on the
Oh,
bottom.
it is on there? Okay.
I think it is.
Okay.
Let's see, is that on there? Did I put it on there?
I don't see it.
Yeah, options
options,
explored for
okay,
town meeting.
Okay.
All right, Jeff, you had a couple things you said, or,
Oh, just, we'll, next time we can go over, well, the dog bites, there's nothing that was gonna be discussed. Opioids, I haven't been able to connect with anyone. And as far as SARS, I don't think there's really anything to add, but given the efficacy of the vaccine, you're still transmitting the virus if you get it, even if you don't get sick. So universal precautions, even if you have the vaccine.
we'll take off the dog bite. We'll get back to the additional comments there. Mark, any other changes? Alan, Kate?
Nope.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll open the meeting up to public comments. We'll get folks in the room here first, and then we'll go to folks online. Do we have any comment from the public? All right, folks online, do we have any comments? All right, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes for our previous meeting, which was 5 October?
I move to approve the 10-5 minutes.
All right, Kate's moved to approve meeting minutes for the previous meeting. Is there a second?
I said.
Seconded.
Seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so those minutes are approved unanimously. All right, do we have anyone here interested in being fence viewer, inspector of lumber, shingles, and wood, where coal? These are open appointments, and we're keeping it to 0. You have to pay us. All right, so we'll move on from there. Town treasurer, Gail.
Yes, I just
Thank
have
you.
orders and then this salt.
This is for contract for salt.
Yeah, you have to sign one every year, set the price. More than last year, but I think we paid more in years before.
All right. Mary Ellen, your highway, have you taken a look at this?
What's that?
It's a contract for salt. Do we have to do it right now?
Contract for salt? I haven't seen it.
Okay, so it is.
Yeah, I just got it today, so.
Okay,
I was gonna say, I didn't miss it, did I? I don't think we got it, yeah.
all right, so maybe we'll,
Well, usually we buy salt at the state bid price, right? That's what most towns do. And if you do, that's the best rate you can get. The towns can buy, we're talking about road salt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the state of Vermont bids road salt out and towns can buy it at that price. So assuming that's what we're doing, that's the cheapest you can get it. But usually in those contracts, you have to estimate how much you're gonna use. And that's where Rick would have to, or somebody have to look at how much we used last year. And add that.
yeah, Mary, this one says estimated tons 275.
Okay, so somebody estimated that. I don't know what we usually use, but.
All right, so how about we hold on
The
to that?
price is the state rate, then that's the best you can get.
But Mary Ellen, I wouldn't be able to determine that.
Usually it'll say that on there. We can just call the company and say, is this the state's bid rate? If not, what is the state of Vermont's bid rate? the state of Vermont bids out like traffic cones, all these things, and towns can purchase things under that same rate. And Rick probably, I'm sure Rick knows that. He probably does, but it might not say that on there.
Is it the standard Cargill rate, Cargill contract we've been using for years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cargill's the ones that bids the state contract. There's a couple. My only question would be, I think we need salt and that's one of the normal suppliers, but we should just make sure we're buying it at the state rate if it's lower than whatever's on that contract.
So how about we just hold on to this, give it to Rick, and move on to next go round?
All right, well, Rick knows.
Is there-
Oh, so Rick, so he's asking us to sign it?
Yeah.
Right, so,
Yeah, so Nick's probably already reviewed that.
all right, so if Rick's reviewed it, then let's just, all
I move that we approve the bid for the salt,
right,
the contract for the salt.
Jeff has moved to approve the salt contract. Is there a second? Second. All right, Mark Whitney has seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 That is unanimous. So I'll get to sign this thing. I'll get to that. All right, Gail, what else do you have for us, please?
That's it. I haven't heard back from the insurance company on the ballot box yet. I'll give them a call tomorrow.
Okay.
So I swapped the last 2 days.
Is there any help, is there anything we can do to help with that, or you're all?
I should be able to do it tomorrow. It's just that there's a lot of tax money coming in and phone calls.
All right. Thank you.
I think you know that Mary is the liaison for highway. Anything comes in the highway, we shoot right to her, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That way she had it, you know.
On the order, what's the corner rail fence bill?
That's for the recreation department. I think it's probably over by where they put the new.
Yeah, that's all of it.
Yeah, there's definitely new fence down there.
All right. So we'll move on from Gail and go to the town clerk, Karen, Phyllis, and Phyllis, you'll also pick up the listers there.
Okay, I see Karen, I see you're on. Do you want to say anything? As you're on?
Well, just nice to see all of you. I'll get an update from my doctor tomorrow and I'll keep you advised. I've been meeting with Phyllis once a week to go over anything that she needs help with and monitoring the email as well as just trying to heal up so I can come back to be your town clerk.
It's so nice to see you, Karen.
Every once in a while, I bump into one of you down the street. I think LeVar was the last one.
Not to bother you too much. All right, what else, Phyllis? Thank you,
Okay,
Karen.
as you know, the listers lodge a grand list every year. And from that grand list, our municipal taxes are derived from the grand list. As you probably know, the educational tax has nothing to do much with grand list, but the municipal tax does. Anyway, when we lodge it with the town clerk and Gail does the tax bills and all those things. And if we discover we made an error in the grand list, you don't usually make any errors, very few if any, but sometimes you do. And so we made a slight error in a property that we share with Tunbridge. We had the acreage wrong and an old survey came in and the acreage is a little bit different. So because it's a little bit different, we changed it in the grand list. So it amounted to a minus $1,300 from our million grand list. And when this happens, we have to have the select board sign. It's called error of omission, and the select board has to sign. This is the only error we had,
Okay.
so they have to sign that. Any questions on that?
So this is, so basically, there's this unusual error and it was reduced the rate by
$1,300.
$1,300.
In past years, we've had more errors. Sometimes errors come up. It's a huge grand list. I mean, sometimes errors do come up, but the last couple of years, I don't think we've had any. And we had this one this year. So that was all for the listers.
So our action, our requested action is to approve this so that it's a correction. Is that right?
We're gonna sign it, so probably want to approve something, we're gonna sign it. Is that how you do it?
I move to approve the change to the grand list.
All right, so Jeff has moved to approve the change to the grand list. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mark has seconded it. Is there any discussion? Kate, are you waving your hand? No. All right, so there's no, oh, I thought you waved, Kate, sorry. So if there's no further discussion, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that is approved unanimously. Who is, all of us sign? All right.
I think if you three sign it, this doesn't go anywhere except in the back of our grand list book, so it's not like we're sending it. I changed it in our grand list on the computer, so the state sees the change, but we don't have to send this anywhere.
All right, thanks, Phyllis. What else do you have for us regarding listers?
Nothing else for listers, we're,
All right.
we just recently were working with our district advisor, going over our sales for the last 3 years, from which our FCLA is, made from. And they don't look too bad, because it ended in March 31st, 2021. So we've got 2-3 sales that are really not good sales. They got a lot more money than we had in before, but it doesn't look too bad for this year. However, we had a lot of sales come in this summer, off the charts. I don't know what next year will bring, but this year, I don't think it'll be too bad for CLA. We won't learn that CLA figure to December, January, so.
Well, thank you. So moving on to administrative assistance report, Mary Ann.
Okay, the first thing about grants, just to let you know, there's no new information, really, but I attended 2 webinars today. One was the information about the ARPA funds, how you could use it, and mainly I was interested in the water, wastewater possibilities, and there's no definitive, I didn't learn anything super definitive, but I've got there's gonna be more content coming up, and I've got the website that I'm supposed to go to find out more about that. So it's a possibility. It's not ruled out, but it's not super clear. The other one that I attended this afternoon was for the Homeland Security one, and that was the request to see if we could get a generator for the town hall. And that one was very thorough, and actually I think we can get generators, and they went through how you apply for it. I think it's pretty easy to get. It seems like it. There's a lot of information they want, but and we have to tie it to terrorism preparedness, which we can do. And more information will be coming. You applied between January and February, so I think that could happen.
Excuse me,
But
Mary Ann,
nothing
was
to apply
that a different grant you're talking about, the generator?
The generator grant is it's
Oh,
like this
Homeland Security.
FEMA Homeland Security
Oh, okay.
grant, and you can do preparedness stuff. Municipalities can do preparedness stuff with it, and you can do equipment, and under equipment, you can do generators. And we can apply for that in the window, which is coming up.
So we'll make sure that Tracy's on top of it. Mark, maybe you'll lend a hand with that if you will, please. Thank you. Thank you. So, thanks for checking that out, Mary Ann.
Sure. There is a use of the Village Green request to be signed, and it's the trunk or treat thing, the Dawn spray.
All right,
So that needs to be signed right there.
thank you. And we're not aware of any conflicts,
Now,
as our policy is to, go ahead and sign it, since we're not aware of any conflicts. Kate, this is the item you, correct?
Yeah, from Dawn.
Yep.
Yeah, she's just waiting to hear that that's all approved.
All right, so it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let her know.
So the next thing is, there's a form, the request for military aerial support. This is about the helicopter landing on the thing. Now, first they sent it, and they had it printed with the town clerk, but we want to do this. So you need to print. Here, you have to do all these sections, okay? You got to print here, title, telephone number, sign here, and then there's on 23 ABC. It's a federal form.
Yeah.
Okay, so we,
All right,
Okay.
so we had
oh,
moved,
the date. So the date is, I think it's November 5th.
Oh,
Remember?
Yeah.
What is that, not 2020? Look at it. It's, I think it's 2021-11/05.
Yeah.
And then I think the 19th of November was the date in case, send a separate email in case of, like alternate weather or something, in case they
Alright.
couldn't fly.
And board, so I recall we approved this already, so I'll go ahead and sign it. There didn't seem to be any conflict with what we had already went with. All right? What do you think, Mark? All
What
right.
was this about? No?
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Helipad. So there was a request for the school, there's a request from the National Guard to land a helicopter at the school, right?
Baseball field.
On the field
On the
owned by the
field.
town, but it's a school event. The community is not supposed to come, just the students.
So we had approved this a while back, that's why 2 meetings ago. So does anyone else have any questions about this? Mary Ann?
LeVar, did I hear correctly that they made it, that they did confirm a date for that?
November 5th,
Okay, and the community is not welcome.
they asked that it only be the students of the school. And I think that was because of COVID, or, just to keep it kind of low key. They can't stop us from standing on the sidewalk and watching though.
We're gonna take a cemetery.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't have any concerns, Mark. All right. Mary Ellen, you don't have any concerns, correct?
No, nope.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll sign this later since there's a lot of different things to write.
Okay.
Just remind me, please.
Okay, then I just have papers for you guys. I don't know if, I brought some papers. I don't know if Mary Ellen wanted to talk about the ATV committee, the intent clarification and committee meeting schedule under administrative assistant. That could happen. And then the other thing is the custodian thing that I gave to you.
Yeah, I would like to, I just want to say that November 2nd will be our first meeting. Mark and I talked about the fact that if we do it before the select board meeting, only one night we have to get out. And I'm going to say 5:30, that way we can be out of the room in time for the select board meeting. There was some emails that were circulating to the board. And personally, I was very offended by some of the things that I read that really targeted me personally. But in that regard, I thought it's important that I just cover what I believe the intent of this committee is, so that if anybody on the board disagrees with me, now's the time. The intent of the committee is to prepare an ordinance for the town's vote. So the intent of the committee, as we discussed previously, as I recall, is that we will be preparing an ordinance. What the ordinance says and how it is crafted is what the committee will be doing. So I just want to go on record saying that was the intent, and giving the other board members an opportunity to disagree with me if they recall our discussions differently than that.
Marilyn, who is on the committee?
I don't have the list in front of me, sorry.
Oh,
I
does
think-
anybody know?
Everybody that was interested is on it.
Okay,
Mary Ann has a,
So it's Mary Ellen Parkman and Mark Whitney from the select board, Greg Heron, Heidi Chapman, Tracy Penfield, Leela LaRosa, Jen Chase, Linda Cuban, John Alexander.
okay, thank you. I would like to just say one thing. I know Mary Ellen requested that this be added to the agenda. I'm a little confused why it ended up under other items of administrative assistant. I know we're all, we all want to have quick meetings or, efficient meetings, but I'm just a little concerned. I want to make sure in the future we don't go putting ATV items kind of under other like
Well,
that.
this is more just of a statement of when the committee's meeting. It's not meant to be for public. I mean, if somebody has public comment, they obviously can contribute, but this was just meant to be an update from me, not a full agenda item. And we had a packed agenda. So I just wanted to make sure that it was noted when the first meeting will be, because there's been several emails asking. And I'll follow up with this meeting with an email to everybody that's actually on the committee, letting them all know. This wasn't supposed to be a debate, we voted on this. It was already decided. I'm just announcing to the rest of the board when our first meeting is. So
No,
I don't
that's
think.
great. I think I just get a lot of emails asking about this, as I'm sure you do too. It would be great to just be able to continue our commitment to kind of that clarity, I think.
Right, and if anyone else gets questions, they could direct them to me too, or Mark as well.
Mark's smiling there. So board members, do we have any other concerns or questions regarding the meeting date or other things associated with this? Now, I'll ask that we not debate each other here since there's no motion on the floor, but if we have any questions, we can ask them. All right, we'll move on from that. Mary Ann, did you have anything else for us?
Well, just about the custodian thing, but actually that's a separate
Yeah,
thing, so no,
Okay.
done.
Thank you. So Jake and the working group for the local hazard mitigation plan are up.
Hi. So I'm Jake Pallant with Two Rivers Regional Commission. I previously presented you with the local hazard mitigation plan for the town of Chelsea. You wanted some more time to review that plan. So I sent you a updated version. I didn't receive too many comments from you. I did incorporate some tables from a study we had with Dubois and King Engineering regarding some of the bridges that were proposed for the mitigation plan for updating. Mary Ellen, you sent me an email this morning about the Court Street Bridge. I know during the second meeting I had with the Hazard Mitigation Committee, it was decided to remove that as a proposed mitigation action since some of the committee members, or at least one of the committee members, thought that the bridge was of sufficient size and not too small. However, the report that I had from Dubois and King did show that it did still cause some ice jams. I didn't know if you guys wanted to discuss possibly adding that item back or if you wanted to proceed without it. Other than that, I didn't really have anything else to update with the hazard mitigation plan. I didn't really receive too much other than some minor technical items, some minor edits, but that was pretty much it.
All right, thank you, Jake. Board members, do we have anything, any questions for Jake? Any other concerns we want to get knocked out here? All right, I'll give a chance to the folks, or anyone in the room who were working on the plan have any other comments, or anyone on the net have any comments who worked on the plan with us? All right, so do we want to make a motion? Do we have a motion to approve it so that it can be submitted, or is this something we want to hold off for additional work? All right, Jeff has moved to approve the local hazard mitigation plan. Is there a second?
Did you want me to, did you want me to add anything about the Court Street Bridge, or were you fine with leaving that off of the mitigation list?
Well, let's hold on for 1 second. Let's get a second, Mark, if you want to.
Second.
Oh,
All right, so
sorry.
Mark seconded. All right, so Jeff, you'll defer to Mary Ellen, right?
Yeah, definitely defer to Mary Ellen. She's the civil engineer, so.
All right, Mary
I
Ellen,
think-
you're up.
I guess the only reason I asked is because it specifically said we disagreed with the engineering assessment basically on that. I mean, if we don't want to make it a priority, I'm fine with that, but I would just take out the statement that said something like, I don't have it in front of me, but it said something like the select board or the committee or the select board or somebody disagrees that it's undersized. Frankly, I think we have how many bridges being replaced in 5 years? We're going to be lucky if we get one of those replaced. So I don't have a problem with taking it off the priority list, but I would take maybe that one's less of a priority than the others. But I would take out the statement that says we disagree with the fact that it's undersized, unless everybody agrees. I don't have enough information to.
I could re-add it as a low priority if that
Right.
works.
So let's
could
leave
just-
it, right, I would just, I forget the exact wording, but the statement that says we disagree, I think I would take that out, but it does seem like that's a lower priority than the others, so.
Sure.
So that would be my only comment. I read it all today, and everything else looked good to me.
Yeah, so Jay, that's something that's not gonna be difficult to remove, correct?
No,
Right, it's just one little chart, basically.
So I will amend my motion to just add that we remove that one line. And then I think that,
Well, you move, so the amendment is accepted by you. So
Yeah.
I'll read it, I'll understand the motion that will approve it. As with the understanding that that statement that Mary Ellen brought up is removed. All right, so board, is there, Phyllis? Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
All right, that is unanimous that we approve the local hazard mitigation plan with that statement that Mary Ellen referenced be taken out of that plan. Thank you.
thank you. Right.
Okay, so we have Philip Mulligan is up, but the Energy Committee, there he is, thank you. Regarding town hall furnaces and town hall furnace follow-up. You're on, Philip.
One comment before I forget. I find it for, maybe it's the only person, but I find it difficult to find a link to this meeting.
What? I can't hear what he says.
Yeah, you gotta speak up. You said
I find it difficult to find the Zoom link to the meeting.
It's on the agenda.
it's on
the
the,
bottom of the
You
agenda.
know, it didn't come through my email. I saw it, said, like, more information. Anyway, I don't know why. If it could be on the website.
it's
It's
on
on
the.
the, if you click on the meeting link.
On the calendar. Selectboard.
Really my problem.
Philip, I think what happened was, because we put you on the agenda, I sent the message, like the preliminary stuff to you, and I didn't have a Zoom link with the preliminary information.
Yeah.
So that's,
It's, I know. So, that's in the agenda.
yeah, so online, the Zoom link is on.
So I've done a little more homework since our last discussion. Update. The proposal was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, $42,395. Their update is the same.
Can I interrupt for just one moment? We can't hear Philip on the Zoom. Is it possible for him to come closer to the owl?
Yeah,
Microphone there.
Yeah.
thanks, Kate. Yeah, just come on.
This better, Kate?
Thank you. Yes, I think so.
Okay, so Lime Green Heat returned our request to update the cost with current prices for a pellet system in the town hall. There was no change. It's still $42,395 is their estimate of the Pellergy, which was way higher before, is now 20% higher. So, I mean, they're getting harder and harder to think about dealing with. Those are the only two so far that, we've contacted. An annual contract to service a pellet system is $400. That, to be clear, that's an annual cleaning fee. I did follow up with an email today. I just got this number. I do not know if we need to have somebody, the ash needs to be removed 2 or 3 times a year, is my understanding. So somebody has to do that. If we don't have a custodian to do that, then I have had Lime Green Heat with other clients of mine They do the whole thing. They show up 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know what that costs. It's not included in the $400, I don't think.
Only 2 or 3 times a year? Because when my pellets go at home, I have to empty every time I turn around.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how they do it.
Maybe more storage.
Yeah. What else? Faced it from Emma Hanson, state. What she works for Forest and Parks or something like that. Anyway, she's one of the promoters of pellet heat. Says that Faced and Marshfield have pellet systems for their town offices. So
Say that again.
Who?
Facein and Marshfield.
What in Marshfield?
Facein.
FAY.
Where's Sugar?
Thank you.
What else was, so there was discussion about, I know that there's, discussed, well, what if we, I'm being singular minded and I'm an advocate from the energy committee or just for a pellet heating system. The idea is, should there be a counter proposal of what if we did an oil system? So there's it's sort of hard to, we could think about putting in one big oil boiler or furnace in the basement. We have 4 now, so we're really on an oil program now. It almost seems like if you're going to do oil, you would just keep replacing furnaces as we went instead of putting in a whole new ducting system. I mean, that's sort of, I'm not quite sure how you add that up. However, it did make me think of a tiered solution. So that with the pellet system, they're going to put a unified heating. Right now, we have 4 furnaces and 3 sets of ducts. No, 4 sets. Yeah, there's a furnace on each side of the hall. They each have their ducting. There's a furnace for the town office. The clerk's office has its own ducting, and the library has its own ducting. So all these pipes, they're all going to their specific places. And with the pellet system, the plan is to have a unified duct system, one heating source. And so that they can baffle now ducts and zone things with air, which is pretty neat. And so it would be a whole new duct system. And the plan, the proposal from Lime Green Heat and the other fellows and from the feasibility study is to maintain and retain 1 or 2 of your, I think 1 or 2 of the oil furnaces we have now, hook them up into this system. So if you have a failure of the pellet system for some reason, you have some oil in a tank that the existing system kicks in gear. So redundancy is always good. It would also help, I think, satisfy the concern of what if we don't get pellets? Well, we could also say, what if we don't get oil? We could have redundancy. So in fact, I guess you could, I believe when I was with Lime Green Heat down there, they said the furnace on this side could probably heat the whole place. I don't know if that's, I'm not sure. I don't know if he was being realistic, but we could.
Is that the newer one?
There's a new one on this side. It said there's, yeah, the library's ancient. That's the so conceivably you could keep the two oil furnaces, put in a centralized system of air handling and not do the pellet system yet, or not at all, I guess. I mean, if you wanted to phase this, so that would be like how you would answer. If we were to just do oil, you'd probably put in and want to compare it to the pellet system. I mean, it's just sort of like apples and oranges a little bit. I'm not talking about the fuel, I'm just talking about the way to get the heat to the building. It's, I'm confusing.
What about power outages, Philip? I guess we're looking at an emergency generator for the town hall, but the hopper and the pellet feeder must be electric. So in terms of a power outage, we need backup heat and or emergency generator, right?
Yeah, I guess same would be for the oil. We're pumping the heat's being delivered with electric fans, right? So
Right. I was just thinking we could roll the generator in maybe.
And Philip, there's enough room for both systems to coexist?
There's a lot of room down there. Yes.
There's a lot of room down there. Okay. I have no real understanding of how big wood pellet boilers for this size are, but
The boiler is quite small, smaller than the bigger furnace down there.
oh,
I think
okay.
I'm trying- It's been 2 years since I did the walker. I don't think they're doing 1 or 2 right now. But anyway, no, size and space are not problems. There's plenty of room for pellet storage. I think that, you know, rereading the feasibility study, the idea of a dehumidifier down there was recommended. You know, that's a good idea anyway, regardless of what we're heating with. If we're having, I didn't know that since we did the weatherization of this building and put a vapor barrier on the floor, the humidity of the basement was significantly reduced.
Yeah, but it caused other problems.
What problems have caused?
Well, the air quality down there is not very good because water pools on the vapor barrier. And I believe we have bricks that are crumbling.
Well, for the bricks,
There's going to be structural issues. I mean, we used to be able to open up the windows and dry the whole thing out, and now it's all just locked in with no dehumidifiers.
okay, so I just want to comment, the bricks were crumbling before, and actually one of the problems with the brick piers is they're actually wicking water through the ground and coming up the column.
Not an engineer, I'm just saying what I noticed.
I don't think we created that problem, Karen, because it was well advanced when we went down there to do that.
But there definitely isn't no exchange of air down there at all, it feels like.
That's a success from a thermal point of view. It might not be good air quality.
Well, people have to go down there.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't
You're
advise.
affecting your health.
So Karen, what you're saying is you're thinking we need to have a dehumidifier down there?
I'm sorry?
You're saying we do need a dehumidifier?
A large one.
That was right. The feasibility study had an industrial one hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, it definitely needs some stuff.
Are you looking at any other alternative heating ideas?
I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
about it. The heat pump, I know
Is
they're
it
doing very
We
well.
don't, the demand for this building is way too much for a heat pump.
Okay.
Heat pumps that do well in well-insulated buildings, and we have a, you know, these insulated very well. We didn't insulate the walls for historic recommendations, and so.
Philip?
Emissions.
Oh, pardon.
Wait
Sorry.
a second, Kate. Was that Philip?
I've completed my thought about heat pumps. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Did you have something else?
I thought Karen said something.
Was that Karen or Kate?
Yeah.
Both of us. Karen, you go first.
I just wanted to know what kind of emissions we would be seeing from a pellet stove.
Oh,
They burn very cleanly. I believe there's a little more particulate than there is from I know there is more particulate than propane or natural gas heater. I don't know about oil.
Okay. Fair enough.
You know, not like we have to clean the chimney or anything like that. I mean, these are very clean that way.
Mhm.
Philip, forgive me if I've already asked you this question, but I can't find it in my notes. I know that there are incentives at a state level for private individuals to put in stoves like this. Do there exist ones for municipalities? Is there any, do you know of any grant money or reimbursements for something like this?
Yeah, well, so that's included in Lime Green Heat's price.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's a $6,000 rebate from the division from the state of Vermont. somewhere in there. So that was included again. Lime Green Heat, who does sell belt pellets, that wanted to do cost estimates, they use $280 a ton for the price of pellets. Does anybody know what we're paying for oil right now?
Oh my God, I just got, Mary Ellen just got some.
Yeah, it was like 350 a gallon, 339, something like that.
Do we have any orders there or?
350?
They're
right there.
Yeah, check with her.
I just filled up a week ago, 289.
330.
Mine was over $3 Dead River last week. I just stopped looking when I saw the 3. I don't know how much over 3 it was.
Philip, are you trying to get an equivalent?
Yeah, I'm just,
Philip, did you get the quote for $280 a ton for pellets from Lime Green Heat? Is that based on how many we're gonna use per year? And what was that number that you thought?
I'm only reflecting, they told us, they said, if you're doing projections, use 280 a ton.
Okay.
I don't know if it's volume sensitive, I can't say that.
Okay, because I actually called them today and I think it is volume sensitive.
Okay.
So pardon, I don't know if I heard all of that, but that's 280 a ton, and imagine that we are going to be burning how many tons a year? Is that part of their ability to project?
I have to go back to the feasibility. The feasibility study had us saving about $1,700 a year in fuel costs. I mean, if I put in $280 a ton and $3.30 a ton, we're talking about $9 difference in per feet million. I don't know, it's high 20% cost difference in saving. That's saving about a $21 per million BTUs for wood pellets, and it's 30 for pellets. That little calculator. So anyway, there's financial incentive, but you gotta pay for it to get
247 is what we just paid for oil.
247.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, 247. Okay. So
$2.47.
Yeah, they're probably on the fuel spot.
Mary Ann, do you have an answer to Kate's question? Kate,
What is the question?
you had asked about or you said something about the volume, it is volume sensitive, and Kate was asking what you meant by that.
Yeah, well, we could probably get a better price for pellets than 280, but it depends on how much you buy. There's bulk discounts and stuff. Tractor Supply is $254 if you buy a ton. I mean, you know,
The more you use it.
you could figure it out, but it also, they give you discounts for once you know how much they're gonna buy, they'll quote you a price. They don't wanna, quote willy-nilly.
Okay.
They want you to have it, yeah.
So there might possibly be additional savings or.
well, if we're paying 247, that was $1 less than what I had in the calculator. So it's like a 10% cheaper to do pellets now than it is oil right now. The other thing I mentioned, one of the promotion points people talk about is the stability of pellet prices. I mean, they don't jump around like oil. I mean, oil went really low a year ago, but historically it goes like this.
The pellets seem to be going up though. They're going up. They're not going up and down. They're just going
Right, as oil does.
steadily up.
Yeah. It's just, it hasn't been as dramatic. I mean, that inflation, I sent you a graph also of the inflation of pellets versus oil. But it's just more stable. They're not free. I'm not selling anything that's free here.
All right, so since Philip is on Energy Committee, he's given a report or proposal. You know, we'll open it for anyone else to have any questions, not just folks who are using in the hall, but if there's anyone else in the public who has questions. We'll start in the town hall first. Susan.
So I guess my first question would be, what are we doing? Is the board tonight considering voting on going ahead with the pellet stove? Or are you just considering taking the first steps of the 2019
So,
recommendation to
so-
start with 5 points? The one was investigating other places that had similar, and do a comparison and do all the 5 steps. Is that what you're doing tonight? Or are you ready to vote on definitely going for pellet?
so from my perspective, Philip is following up on giving us his report, his proposal from the Energy Committee that the previous boards have received, and, we're calling on to see if there's any action that we want to take. If there was a motion, then the board would debate that. But I think right now, we're trying to get that additional information.
You're still at that on
That's what I'm, but if someone were to make a motion, then the board would debate each other and go from there. But personally, I think, Philip has done an excellent job, nailing down some of these answers for us. And there might be additional questions that we have that we need to get. Look, I'm sorry, Mary Ellen, did you have a question?
That
Or was
was me.
Okay.
I just wanted to, I couldn't quite hear Susan, but it sounded like there was a 5-step plan that she'd mentioned from 2019 to investigate it.
On the 2019,
You gotta talk to that.
She is, I can hear her.
so on the 2019
Feasibility, that's a report.
feasibility study that guy finally did for us. First part of it is he's suggesting that the board take for 5 steps. And the first one was to investigate and compare what other towns or state office buildings have done in similar. And it was, check out supply issues and take all the other steps. And so that's what I'm asking is,
Okay,
is that what you're hoping to do, or are we just
thank you.
getting out and spending the 47,000?
So for my part, I see us as taking that next step of doing further investigations. And I think the reason we invited Philip for this timing is that so we can have this information in our minds as we're beginning to consider inform the budget. And I'd be happy to take the lead on this and follow those plans if that's what the board thinks we should continue our investigations into this option.
Yeah, I guess my concerns are mostly around that we have 4 furnaces in this basement. One apparently is new since the report has been written.
I thought, no, no.
Karen thought no.
We need to know how old we are. before we
Yeah,
The
find
report
out.
has a very old, if there's one new one, we have 3 older ones and 1 new one.
Right, and they're all doing their different
Newer,
functions
newer.
and so forth. So first off, we need to upgrade the data that's in there because it's got old oil prices on it, old pellet prices. There are some supply issues and just do the comparison. I guess that would be my main concern, is to encourage the board to ask other towns who have made this change. Did it work out for them? Did it not? They have some concerns, that type of problem. And also to talk to get local estimates on labor, contractors, suppliers. The furnace. Let's see.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What, I keep hearing about the supply issues. Are there bulk supply issues historically somewhere or that are known about?
I think there might be, but that would be one important
But I just heard that like there has been shortages, I haven't heard about it, so I'd like to know about it.
No, so now that I read at some point in here about the hopper, it wasn't gonna be a concern. So we're not talking about, like they mentioned tractor supply. We're not buying bags. We're gonna have a silo somewhere outside. It's
No,
gonna be
it'd be a fabric hopper,
fabric out now. That'll be blown in or,
like a feed.
yeah, okay, yeah.
And
blower truck.
you could put, you have enough room to have a year's supply down there if you want.
Yep, okay.
It's a matter of how many hoppers or how.
It'll be, okay, so I understood that wouldn't be an issue, but I didn't know if that meant it would be outside camouflage or
We have plenty of room to put out.
it'd be in the building.
Yep.
Now, question, I don't know if you'll be able to answer or not, but being it's in a cloth bag in a possibly humid environment, does that make the dehumidifier?
They put them in, they're not concerned, Lime Green, he wasn't concerned about it, I actually put them in the worst basements.
Okay,
So
I didn't know if that'd make the dehumidifier more of a,
let's say we should do that anyway, but it's not a problem for the pellets, it's my understanding.
okay,
I think this was already mentioned, but
Yeah, in the report.
if you are going to go ahead with the project, to contact the state and federal agencies that have the potential grant options for you ahead of time to make sure that might even be a possibility to cut the cost down. Emissions, that's my big concern, because everything I read online, I don't know if I can trust it. It's like either written, if you look who actually wrote it, is it the oil or is it a power company that's writing it? But the 2019 report says that it's comparable to oil.
For emissions.
For emissions, yeah. But everything I read and that I can find that's independent states that the emissions is 15 to 50 times worse than oil. Do I trust that? I don't know. So I just don't know enough about it. So I think that would be my biggest concern is finding out about emissions. And then we talked about the culvert. Oh, I guess my last comment would be, because it's such an expensive project and we have emergency funds coming from the COVID, is it possible that since we are considering doing a generator for this building, we can classify it as an emergency use and then include the furnaces?
Maybe we can kill 2 furnaces.
Yeah, and bring the funds in on that, because it's enough funds that we really could.
That would be cool.
A generator and the heating system for this building,
Yeah.
especially as I was for emergency.
Can I ask, on the emissions, I do remember, when the school replaced their boilers, oil boilers to oil, we entertained the idea of not pellets, but a chip heat plant there. And my understanding is that chips were dirtier than pellets, and so I just wanted. when you're
No,
looking-
this was definitely
This was
pellets.
pellets, okay.
Yeah, almost everything I can find is the emissions is the problem. And it's something about when the furnace turns on and it kicks off and goes on, that's when the emissions happens. It's not
That's the dirtiest
concentrated.
fact. There are ways to help mitigate that. And I believe they don't have that in this plan, but if you put in buffer tanks, they hold a lot of water and, so the unit runs more evenly if you have buffers instead of. It just runs more continuously.
Well, I also think there's a difference between emissions problems with commercial uses versus pellet stoves. And I can't maybe, those home smaller ones are probably the guilty party.
So Susan, thank you for your comments. Do I hear you volunteering to call Basin and Marshfield for us and work with Philip and Kate? Could you do that, Susan?
Yeah.
Thank you. So Susan Elber has volunteered to call Basin and Marshfield and work with Philip and Kate, particularly on that piece about the how other towns are faring. So thank you for volunteering to do that. Mr. Keynes.
Well, on the emissions thing, I'm just gonna tell you what I see and what I've seen for a long time. 20 below zero, take a look at a chimney. If it's an oil furnace and it's properly taken care of and properly adjusted, 20 below zero, you'll see heat waves coming out. Anytime that I've seen wood, whether it's wood, chips, pellets, I don't care what it is, you will see smoke. And I have to believe that the emissions are greater. And I don't mean to rain on Philip's parade, he's done a great job. The other thing that bothers me about this whole thing is I sat here and listened. It sounds like we're saving $1,700 a year. So we're gonna round that to 2,000 just for information. And we're gonna say in 20 years, we get our money back for that pellet boiler. I'd be very curious if a pellet boiler will last 20 years, but that's just my opinion. I do know that oil furnaces last 20 plus years. I also know that I just got a price on, I haven't spent any money for oil to heat my shop since 1987. I've done it with a waste oil furnace. My understanding is you can't use it in a public building. I can use it in my shop and that's okay. Don't ask me why, I don't know why, but I haven't had to spend money. I realize it's hard to get waste oil, so we won't go down that road. But I just barely price a regular fuel oil furnace to heat my shop because I'm not going to be burning waste oil. $2,500 for a hot air furnace. Now, I know that's not quite big enough to do this, but you can buy a lot of hot air furnaces for $42,000. So I just not sure that I can agree with it. I think there's probably going to be more maintenance. You clean an oil furnace once a year, you take care of your furnaces 2-3 times a year, and they just purr away. I know that people that have had pellet stoves, there's an auger, there's these diodes, there's things that have to be taken apart and cleaned. I know a little bit about it, not a lot, a little bit. My girlfriend had one when she was living in Tunbridge, and it was an older one, but it was, you know, causing problems, and it was good heat. Don't get me wrong, it worked good, but I just have a little bit of problem seeing where the cost savings is, and then we're going to have that, but then we're going to have a couple oil furnaces for backup. So now we've got oil sitting in the tank, but we'll go 2-3 winters and we don't need it. So that oil sits there, and pretty soon it gets to the point where it doesn't work as well. So, you know, there's all these other factors that I think need to be considered. And I hope Bill and I can remain friends.
I won't take this personally at all. Thank you.
So thank you, Frank.
I think there are places where a pellet stove would work, a pellet furnace would work fine. My own opinion is I don't feel this is one of those places. But
So
if there were someone here all the time, if there were a maintenance person here all the time that knew how to do all that stuff, you know, I think it might work. But with an oil furnace, if it kicks off, there might be a reason you hit the reset. Gee, I got lucky, it took off again, you know?
So, thank you.
There's pros and cons.
All right. Do we have any other comments on this or questions from the board or anyone else online? Because we'll move on from this. We'll let Philip close it out. Okay, go ahead.
Just a few comments about Frank's, valuable thoughts. The price of $42,000 isn't what we're putting in a heating distribution system with this cost, as well as storage and things like that. The boiler is expensive. I'm looking at $21,000. You get a $6,000 rebate. It's going to be a $15,000 unit, and so that's anyway. What's durable and what's the lifespan is it's a good question. So anyway, I'm happy to continue doing research and answering questions if I can.
Well, thank you. So Kate, you volunteered to take the lead on this. I think I've sent you all the emails that Philip and I have been sending for the last 2 years. I think, Kate, do you have those?
I
Um,
believe so. I've got a bunch of them, so I think I have all of them. Yeah, I'd be
That's
happy to
Yeah.
to take this. And Susan, Frank, if either of you want to help or to offer perspectives, I'm open to any of that.
All right, thank you, Kate. And so we'll make sure we get Kate down this liaison opportunity committee as well. All right, so we're. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, so now we're moving into the budget discussions. We have library up first. And I guess what we're trying to do here is just, we know that some things might not be like certain or for sure perfect. And what we're trying to do is have discussions as early as possible so that we can get done as best we can. So thank you.
Thank you for having us here. I will say that.
This is Megan.
Thank you. I wanted to actually do an introduction myself. Veronica Golden is here tonight. I'm not sure if she's known to all of you on the select board. She is our new library director. We are thrilled to have her, to have been able to hire such an experienced person for Chelsea. And I wanted you all to meet Veronica because she will certainly, I think, be interacting with you in the future. In terms of this recent hire, as I foreshadowed the last time I was in here to a select board meeting, we did a lot of work as a library trustees to make sure that we had equivalent benefits as other town employees, and that what we were doing was in line with the town personnel policy as a library board. So we have brought the library into, I'll call it compliance, for lack of a better word. That is going to require that we increase our budget coming up for this upcoming year. I don't have budget numbers. Veronica needs to be part of that process, and she's been in position just weeks. We will be working on, and we need to discuss them as a board before I present numbers to you. But you have the information about the benefits due town employees, so that you can do essentially the estimate on what the numbers will be. We'll be asking for an increase to cover those benefits. We are committed to assisting the town through fundraising, but we also want to be responsible with that fundraising. So we're talking as a board about what additional fundraising we can realistically do as a library to maybe decrease that request from the town in any way possible. We do not expect other increases in the library budget. Otherwise, we anticipate that it will remain relatively stable moving forward. So we don't see increased expenses in other areas. And as always, we raise a substantial portion of our budget through fundraising, and we are going to continue that. We also are committed to using the grant money, which our prior library director was very skilled at getting for us on projects that benefit the town, such as the technology we're using tonight to assist with this meeting. You can anticipate that we are going to be using some of our tech money to try to increase internet access and connectivity, both in this building, and we've had requests from the town to try to increase that they'll bring outside the building, and we've had requests to use some of the space around the library for seating areas where people can, in times of better weather, actually use their computers, because as you all know, we very frequently have people parked in their cars at all hours using the internet facilities. That's an important town resource. And we want to increase that access with that grant money, which we've been able to gather. So it's a hopeful report from the library. We're going to have some new programming. We have some new books. But in terms of bringing ourselves in line with what we should be doing, to treat people equitably and fairly, you will see a cost increase from the library coming out.
Thanks, Megan. And I guess, just, as when we talked last with the, the hiring process and whatnot, we agreed with the library board that it's a shared responsibility that we have, that, the town governing body and that the library board. So it's, I don't think any board members, these select board members expressed concern about that. So I think we're all willing to work together. Board members, do we have any questions for Megan? All right.
I have one question for you. In terms of some of the grant money we have for tech, are we part of the Zoom membership that the town currently has? Or do we not fall under your Zoom membership?
Kate, that's for you.
I mean, I don't think I have any problem with the library using it. I know the planning commission has used it occasionally. I don't think it's any sweat. The only real issue is just cloud recording size. So when you get a recording, you just want to take it off and put it somewhere else so we don't run into that. But I have no objection to the library using it at all. Do you guys?
Nope.
I think it seems to be an unlimited, resource. It's we don't have a limit rather to the number of meetings we can host. So go for it. It will say Kate McLean probably. I'll try to figure out a way to just make that say Town of Chelsea. But
that's a welcome $200 savings. Thank you very much.
So Megan, I guess you talk to Pete and Mary Ann, because they're the ones who do Zooming for us. So just touch base with them.
I'll follow up with you, Megan.
Thank you. We'll appreciate a chance to come back and talk about some plans for increasing internet connectivity in the future. And giving you a more detailed proposal about some ways we can make that happen.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Getting that question. All right, so moving on, who do we have next? Ambulance. Linda. Hey Linda, how are you?
I'm good. Well, like everybody else, our budget's going up this year. Significantly. Yeah. We're trying to entice people to come and work for us, and to say the competition is pretty steep.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it's not your problem this year. Next year will be, not this year, because we have the 3-year contract. And so basically, our 3-year contract stated that we couldn't go above the $33 per capita. So that is what the per capita would be. I guess the only thing we look at is what you use for figures is decide what your per capita is, because we've been going by the 1,248. And that seems to be a reasonable
And that's the population.
Yeah.
So we got the new census. I don't know if we have the new census data yet. I know it's out, but I have not seen anything.
I thought the only place that in this area that has grown is Tunbridge. They increased, I think, by 100 people.
Okay.
Otherwise, everything else stayed about the same here in Washington. Basically, We are busy. We responded so far this year to 193 911 calls. The other, write down the other. Okay, so we're up, close to, now we're over 300 calls, so the rest are transfers. And we worked with us, we didn't do transfers, we would no longer be in business. That's kind of what pays the bills, doing the transfers. And our hardest thing is recruiting people. We try to do things all the time. We've got a course coming up this weekend, and I think we had 3 people sign up for it. And it's a, if anyone, if you wish to attend, you're welcome to. It's at the beginning course. The state realizes statewide, we've got a serious crisis with EMS. We don't have enough people. So what they have done is they've created this new first responder level, because in order to bill Medicare, you have to have two certified people on board. This new level that they just created will be a certified person, not work in the back at home. They're only going to be taught to assist the EMT, and they will drive. But that will constitute the 2-person. And I've always said the driver isn't really all that helpful when you're in a hospital anyway. So that will be very helpful. And that course is going to be, I think, Friday evening and all day Saturday. So it's a short class. We do ask that after that, if you're below 20, if you're younger than 21, we ask that they take a driving course to go along with that. And also attend some of our trainings so that they stay up to date, because the biggest thing is learning to use all of our equipment that we have. How to open the storage chair without pinching your fingers in it, things like that, how the cot operates, all that. So maybe it's a helper to the EMT in the back. And they are going to get, because I believe Friday night is CPR and first aid. And then Saturday, they're going to teach about medical issues and equipment that you know how to operate. And I just really appreciate it. And basically, if somebody got the urge Friday night to come on over and see what it was all about, I think that's okay. If you could let us know ahead of time that you're coming, we'd make sure to have enough books and everything for everyone. But we do need people. We do about ourselves, the EMTs on First Branch do approximately $30,000 a year fundraising. And it's a lot of work. Between we do our newsletter, between we do fair booths, we sell signs, we do other little fundraisers here and there. But to be perfectly honest, I mean, I don't know where the future is. You know, like the fire service said, we're here to put out fires, not to sell cookies at bake sales. We can't do, that's not how to fund emergency services. So, they are entities that can levy a tax on their own.
The fire district.
Yes, the fire district can. And I don't know if that's in the future for EMS too, if that would be the direction they would take. But I do know we've got to do something to increase the volunteers and to figure out a way we're going to pay for things, because an example is the state police have dispatched for us for years, and that's going to be going away. They went to the legislature and said, don't really like dispatching EMS. More like I'm kidding. And so what they're going to be doing is they're going to be charging us a going rate. We pay Chelsea Fire $900 to use the tower every year, and then maybe maximum would be $500 in maintenance stuff on the tower, and that's what we pay for radios. And probably in another year, they took our numbers that we had and estimated that we're paying 15,000.
You said it 15,000.
15,000.
So you went from what, 900?
About 1,000 to, we'll be paying 15,000.
Currently, the state police doesn't charge fire or EMS for dispatching.
Yep.
That's going to change. They're gonna start charging as, like Berry Town or Berry City, dispatchers for a few other towns. And they charge for it. State police hasn't in the past. They're gonna start charging, like Linda said, the going rate. And they're gonna be, it's on a per call volume, so, you know, they roughly estimate your call volume and then charge from there. Which will be the same for the fire.
And Linda, when did you say that's gonna be?
They've been discussing it basically before COVID.
Yeah.
It was supposed to take effect last year. COVID happened, and state police said, this is all going on back burner.
Yeah.
Until we can get, and now we're getting emails from the state police saying that we're going to be starting to have meetings again and discuss where this is going to go,
So for last year, the town sent you $41,250.
yes.
And what would we be considered for the next cycle? Was it just, is
The
that,
same,
okay?
because we had a 3-year contract.
And then the year after.
And so, yeah, the year after that, I predict that we're going to have to take probably a sizable jump.
So
We're in a predicament, though, to be perfectly honest. White River Valley needs an extra $15,000 or $20,000. Okay, let's up our per capita by 75 cents. We'd have to up our per capita by Lord knows how much to raise that kind of money.
Is that include, trying to pay people a little bit more to attract them, or? The increase you just said, is that including trying to pay people more to attract?
Yeah.
Okay, so
We have to, right now, we're pretty close to what White River Valley, South Burlington.
Yeah.
We're right in that ballpark, but I mean, it's going up, and we're seeing what the labor issues are right now. And to be perfectly honest, with COVID, we lost some EMTs. And they said, no, this is what I'm in it for. And the other thing is we're covered by volunteers from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. And when I say volunteers, 7 of us. And that is not a lot of people.
Well, I hear everyone. I hear you all on the
And
radio.
this lady is getting a knee replaced this year, so I'm gonna, so I'm gonna be out of the mix for a while. And it's a huge amount of work on a very small number of people, because you're gonna have 2 per shift. And with the math, you're on at least 3 times a week.
Mary Ann, do you know, I mean, you went to that, the webinar and you and Gail took that. Is there any way that you could check to see if we could use any of that, the ARPA money as like a fund to help support the help us prepare for this future cost? And just.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that's possible, but.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, when you give a speech or something, please, in a town meeting, so that folks will know.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year
and this
won't
is what
be-
we're planning on trying to do a course in April or May, so that we can use town meeting as a recruiting time. And yes, and right out there, because White River Valley and South Burlington are right about 65 per capita. And they're both popular going up. I know White River Valley thinks they probably will do 70 this year. So we are low. And we try to remain that same, you know, that way we try to recruit and, but we also have to recognize our volunteers. They get paid when they go out, but otherwise they get $2. No, $1.50 an hour for sitting at home. So, but that does infringe sometimes on having family events and whatnot. We're gonna have to.
On her own call, so. All right. Well, thank you, Linda,
Okay.
for the bad news.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll do what we can to.
Yeah,
support it.
and I think this is it, and this is the one thing that we're trying to say to towns, look, I think we're a reasonable rate, but we're kind of all in this together. And we've got to figure out how we're going to provide emergency services to these small towns. Because if First Branch went under, South Rockland, this is a lot of their calls. Because they just don't have, they only have one ambulance, and they have twice as many calls almost that we do. And like I say, by River Valley, you're looking at $70 per capita.
What does Washington do? There?
So Barry, we cover Washington up toward the top of the heights, and most all of South Washington, we cover them, and then Barry Town covers the other.
But they don't put any money in, or they put money in for anything?
Who?
Washington?
Yes, we
Oh.
charge them per
Oh.
capita. for
Oh, you
people
do it
we
that
serve.
way, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody we serve,
Yeah.
pays per capita.
All right. Board members, do we have any other questions for Linda?
I wanted to repeat a question from the chat of where we can get more information on the EMT training. Linda, is there anywhere online that somebody could go to look?
Sure. It's sure on our webpage. It's been posted on Facebook quite a bit.
I've seen it on Facebook. Yeah, it's been on Facebook on the community page, at least.
On the
for
community page, yeah. And
Right.
tag it
Can
and
you
put
just,
it on
can you
their
just
page.
call,
Yeah.
can we just call you? I mean,
Yep, just call up the station.
yep, all right,
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
thank you. All right, next we have Cemetery Commission.
Well, I want to ask a question first. Do you folks consider the roads in Highland Cemetery town roads?
Didn't we cover this at the previous meeting? Let's let, Mary Ellen, did you hear Frank's question? We can't hear you, Mary Ellen, you're muted.
I would say that they're definitely town-owned roads. They're not class 3 highways, but I think they're town-owned roads.
Well, the only reason that I asked the question.
Jeff, hold on one second, Frank, Jeff.
Well, I mean, we had discussed this, and it was, like Mary Ellen said, they're town-owned, they're not actual roads. They would be, a traffic trail on private property, or public property, but, on our property. And are you getting at, can the town guys bring, we had talked about.
Very simply, what I would like, for years, when I had my own trucks, I didn't bother the town. I would haul gravel and pay for it out of our budget and so forth, but I've sold my flatbed, I don't have it anymore, and I'm gonna need a little help on the roads. Not a big deal, 3-4 loads maybe, but I'm just wondering if town will, I know that they just barely did the little part up to the old road where they planted the wells into the tower. And they just did that. Now, did they charge that out, or did the town just do it, or because that's town road?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, the simple question is, I'd like to feel that I can ask for a load of gravel and not have to worry about my budget.
But, so we would be taking the
Because-
road budget to do the cemetery?
Because it's either going to come out of the town budget, or it's going to come out of my budget, and I have to raise my budget. And over the years, I've been doing this 33 years, and I do my best to keep the price down.
You said that when you first met. You said it, yeah.
I kind of like to try to level fund again this year. But there's two things that I question, and one of them is gravel. Like I said, not a big deal, but there is a charge there, maybe not. The other thing that I have a question about, and I don't know who's going to answer this, is there's 2 trees on the way to Highland Cemetery, right on the corner. I wish Susan was still here, that are scaring the hell out of me. I mean, one of them is really, really rotten.
The Civil War line of
And
trees.
needs to come down. The other one, Charlie Ladd's line goes through the middle of it. And that tree doesn't necessarily have to come down, but the part that's out near the road needs to be. And I tried to get a hold of Pete, and I wasn't lucky enough to get him to try to get a price, but, so, you know, I don't know who owns it. I don't know if it's on the town right away. I don't know if they own it. So that, you know, I'd like to tell you, I'd like to level fund my budget again this year.
It might not happen, that's what you're saying.
And
If you're asking for, if we have to pay for gravel out of the cemetery budget, and we have to pay for tree removal out of the cemetery budget, you can't level fund the budget.
right.
So then that's what we should do, so we go from that.
The trees though are, they would be on the town road, not actually in the cemetery.
They're on the town road.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
wouldn't be your concern. And then as far as who pays for the roads, do we use the town road budget to pay for the paving to the sewer plant? Or do we charge the sewer plant? Because I would say that would be analogous to us bringing some gravel for the cemetery road. Because you know, it's tarred to, isn't it tarred down in,
No,
no, oh, so what, do we maintain that to get to the sewer plant?
I would assume so.
Out of the road budget, we don't do like the charge to,
I don't know. It should come out of sewer water.
I'm just trying to be
I would
fair.
think that even if you had to raise the budget for 3 loads of gravel,
Yeah,
that we could use the town trucks to haul it there. I mean, because there's one hand washing the other, it would save us paying someone else $100 an hour for their tractor, 75. And it would cost us.
well, yeah, I mean, I think the question is, does Frank have to put it in his budget or do we take it out of the road budget?
if we're gonna.
Because we know the tax-
Go with one or the other.
One way or the other.
Let's let Mary Ellen go, we'll let her.
I mean, I think it's the same cost to the town. I agree with Mark. Trucking, we don't want to pay an outside contractor more than we could do it for ourselves, but I do think it's important to put it on the cemetery budget so we can track it. How much gravel have we used each year? So it's the same cost to the town, and I don't want Frank to feel like he's doing the wrong thing by increasing his budget, because I think that's okay, but I'd like to track the costs where they actually are so that we can see over the years how much we've used. You know, I don't see it as a negative for the budget to go up if it's necessary, but I do agree with Mark that as long as Rick doesn't object, it seems as though we could use our resources to decrease the overall cost to the town.
If the Riverside Cemetery, I actually reclaimed both those roads. You know, and there you go again, who owns the roads? I mean, the people that buy the lots own the lots, but who owns the roads? And what I did one year before last, and I did one last year. And I think, if I remember right, around 4,000, 4,200, something like that. So, you know, $8,000, $9,000. And I was lucky, we had some estate money that I was able to use some of that to do the roads. But, you know, over time, that's gonna be gone. And our perpetual care fund, you know, which is sitting in the bank at $100,000, is giving us nothing for interest now. So I've been level funding the budget now for several years at 15,000 and getting by. But you know, I just
And I know when we first met, you made that clear, that's what you couldn't do. But this previous board, when we talked about those, we were aware of those increasing costs, and we know your diligence in trying to keep everything level funded, but I'm of the opinion, the same opinion as Mary Ellen, if, you know, for an accounting perspective, if it's gonna cost more than we need, and if it's a necessary cost, then we're gonna have to increase that cost.
so you're saying put it in my budget, and then you haul a load of gravel, you build.
We would make sure that work out first, but in the interim, if you need to increase that cost to maintain the space for the dead, you know, the hollow ground where we have people, it's like, then that's what we ought to do, if you think that's what we need to do.
Well,
That's what I,
for years, what I've been doing is I've been going up there with my own tractor and grading and regrading that hill. And every time you get a hard rain, it's at the bottom, and I go back up and I push it back. Well, after a while, you wear it out. And it's got to the point where I probably won't do anything this fall, but in the spring, I'd like to do that one hill. And then where they left off from where they just did it, I'd like some there, but, you know, I I'm gonna use a lot, but I kind of just,
Should we do it before mud season, like before it snows, so that it's taken care of before mud season?
no.
So they don't wash out?
No, I don't care because I try to barricade the roads in the spring and say, please stay out, let it dry. I got signs up. One year, if that didn't happen, somebody went through there and tore them all to hell. I spent a hell of a lot of time up there with the tractor. But anyway, so I guess you're thinking the trees might be town?
I mean, they would, I think that there's no question that they would not be a problem for the cemetery budget. Because they're not within the bounds of the cemetery.
Right.
But the question whether it's a town or, I mean, the town, the crew has the right to trim roads that, trees along the road that are gonna.
There's one that,
Yeah.
there's one that really needs to come down. The other, I'm worried about responsibility of somebody going up to the cemetery and the tree falls on their car. You know, who's liable? You know what I'm saying? That's what bothers me. I kind of like to get one taken down and the other one, at least the part that's hanging out, trimmed, but I said something to Susan's husband and he didn't think he owned it. He thought it was Charlie's, but I haven't had a chance to talk to Charlie, but it looks, I just don't know where the boundary is, so.
All right, I have a question about this, so sure, but mowing.
Yep.
How are you doing with the mowing? How are we going? Are we gonna have that increase?
Well-
Because we said in the past, if we have difficulty, who can do the mowing, then we might have to pay better market rate.
And I appreciate that. We have the minister from East Randolph, who has kids of his own, and they come over. I still wish I could find two guys with 42-inch mowers and little lawn mowers and trimmers that are willing to spend 4 days in Highland Cemetery and then take 5 days off and then start again, but ain't gonna happen. So they go up there with these zero-turn things, and I tell them, be careful, because it digs. They dig, they're so heavy. But so far, we did a pretty decent job of keeping them looking good. We quit a little early because everybody went back to college and it was a little bit of a problem. But, we have been able to, with the 15,000 that we have, and then with money that we get interest money and so forth, and some donations, we've been able to get by. And, it's not like I'm looking to put aside a whole bunch of money if I can just cover the costs. I just feel good if I can stand up in town meeting and say, gee, I can fund it again. The people are good about our support.
I would like to say we didn't spend anything, great.
Yeah.
Won't happen.
That's impossible. But we know your diligence, we appreciate that.
Yeah, so I think probably just to be on the safe side, if I went up to 16, we probably can get by. 15, 16. I'm okay with that.
Well, maybe take a look at how much that gravel would cost. And, if we could work something out with the road for doing it, that might, I don't know, Mary Ellen, is that something you could take a look at?
And Frank,
Yeah,
you're,
are people doing it or the costs?
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe we could have Frank take a look at how much that gravel or those other costs would be and add those to his budget, and maybe see if we can work something out with the road crew for the labor.
Yep. Okay, I'll talk to Rick.
are you just looking, you're just looking for them to dump some gravel and you go up with your tractor and move
I'm
around,
looking for them to spread down that long hill,
Yep,
and I'm looking for them to spread up to
Okay.
where they left off. And if they don't get it perfect, I'll go up with my tractor, I don't care. And I
All right,
don't,
yeah,
if
I just
I do
wanted
that,
to-
I don't usually charge for that, I just do it, like,
Yep.
so it's not a big deal, and it's not like I want gravel every other day. Once it's there, I can work it in, pack it down, and I think it'll make a big difference.
I want to make one other point before you wrap up is I think, I recognize there's a ton of people in town who do work for free.
Yeah.
There's too many people in town who do work for free. It's like, I make this pay. But the thing is, from a cost accounting perspective, we've got to know how much time and labor people are putting into these things. Because if you're not doing cemetery commission anymore, someone else comes in and does it, it's like, well, where did all this additional costs come from?
Yeah.
These costs came from Frank Keene doing all this free work and then not being accounted for. It's like, we know everybody in town does that. And they do it, and they're doing the best because this is the town that they live in, this is the town that they love, the town that the family's been in forever.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, it's just like, we've got to do the best we can to let the board and other people know
Yeah.
these other costs that we aren't really accounting for, like your labor, running the tractor up and down, that work. It's like, there's costs associated with that, and we've got to have a good accounting of those.
Well, one thing I think that is gonna help us, last year, I think we straightened and repaired 63 monuments. This year, we've done 88 so far in Highland, and I'm working on 2 right now, right at the corner where you win, that one's tipping this way, one's this way, and you shim it one year, then it tips the other way. I dug it out and there was no foundation, so we went down 3.5 feet, put in a nice, so I think maybe we're at a point now where we're not gonna be, I got a few to do in the old cemetery Riverside, but try to keep up with it. But, and the one comment I'd like to make, if anybody knows of a young person that I can mentor that would be willing to get on, and say there's 5 of us right now, but people are willing to get off too, but I'd like a young person that I could mentor that would take over and kind of watch and see what I do and know the books and know where the graves are and who's buried here and where can you put this person. I mean, I'd like to live forever, but it ain't gonna happen, so if you know of anybody, send them around, we'll talk.
Frank, Frank, is that something you're okay with us? I could put up online on Facebook and Front Porch Forum to try to spread the word there for that.
Yeah, it's gotta be somebody with big muscles. I want somebody that found some of the muscles I lost.
Frank, you'll take anybody.
Yeah, listen to Phyllis. Listen to anybody.
Take anybody, right?
Thank you. Board members, do we have any other questions for Frank?
How'd I go? Thank you.
No, thank you, Frank.
All right, Two Rivers on the Peachy Regional Commission. I don't see anyone here for that. Do we have anyone online? All right, Mary Ann, can you talk to it?
I think there's just a fee that they get every single time. I don't.
A dues for dues.
Do, yeah.
Thanks. All right, so do we have any comments on that or anything? All right, so we'll just plan based on what we have now. Maybe I'll call Carl Peppermint, because he's our representative there, to see if there's gonna be any changes. So I'll put that on my list. I'll call Carl. Who do we have next? Petition request.
Well, you invented it yet, right?
No, that I just
Alright.
put on because, just to include everybody, but that.
All
we'll
right,
just do the
so,
conditions and-
so Kate, you had a question last year or last board, I can't remember. At any rate, it was whether we were gonna continue to do the required petitions, or would we?
Oh, yeah, the signatures.
To approving, not having to do that, or a different.
Right.
Your thoughts?
I completely forgot that we had done that last year. Thank you for reminding me. I brought that up. Well, I think that was specifically initiated by COVID, but I think I brought up kind of making that something more permanent, because I had gotten feedback from nonprofits in the area that said we're one of the only towns that requires signatures to get on. So, just maybe that's a little bit of an antiquated efficiency or inefficiency there.
So a lot of towns only require petitions if they want more money. And one bonus
Yes.
of that is people tend not to increase the asking amount because they don't want to deal with the petition. But I know
That's a
that's
very good point.
Well, that's what Thepford does. You only have to do a new petition if you're asking for an increase.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Mary Ellen. Thank you for that. Thank you for that correction.
So I think people do require petitions, but not every year.
Yeah, for a change. Yeah.
Right.
Kate, hold on one second, Mary Ann, do you have a question?
The policy that's on the website and that I've been telling people is that you have to do it.
Yeah, so that is, so
Right,
that is
there's no
correct. So what,
change, so.
so Kate had, last year, Kate had asked if we could make a modification, or make a modification general, and we modified it last year, that was the previous board, right? Yeah, so we said, you know, if you have the petitions, if you have a new petition, we're gonna, I mean, a new petition, go out and get the signatures. For everyone else, Jeff, we had said we were level funding, correct?
Mhm.
So that's what we did, but then Kate had found that, you know, we do have an option, as Mary Ellen just said, that the board could decide to just vote to require people to do the petitions all the time, or like we do, or maybe at other points, and that's why we brought that up. So did you?
So I
were you-
believe that they would still need to send, you know, they'd still need to send a letter, you know, announcing that they would like to be level funded for the year. It just wouldn't need the signatures. I'd love to hear what the benefits or what, you know, what concerns people might have for that if we eliminated signature requirements for level funding.
So let's direct questions to Mary Ann and me, so that we're not debating anything without a motion on the floor.
Oh, okay.
What's the question, Kate, Mary Ann?
I was just wondering if we know of any immediate concerns to making that change. If there's a benefit to requiring signatures for level funded items.
Mary Ann might not know the answer, that's fine.
Well, I don't know if there'd be a benefit. I don't know. It's an ordinance that's on the website, so you'd have to, you know, change it and rewrite it, I guess.
Well, not an ordinance, it's just a policy, right?
It might be a policy, it might be an ordinance, but it's it's in that folder with the ordinances and policies. So I don't know what that
And that, of
means.
course, last year didn't have to because of COVID.
Right, but that was a,
The state law.
right.
Right.
It wouldn't be, it's not a benefit or a,
For us.
well, the town clerk would do a little bit less counting and making sure it's okay, I guess, but that's for election.
And it's for these businesses too, you have to make sure they're all.
Right.
That's really false.
I don't know, less paperwork, but then it's possible you get more requests. I don't know.
Kate, do you want to make a motion to take action on
Yeah.
one thing?
I would like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we amend our signature policy so that we only require signatures for a change in funding request from the town.
Okay, so Kate has moved to change the town of Chelsea, Vermont social service appropriation policy to only request petitions for changes in funding. Is there a second? All right, I'll ask again. If not,
I'll second it.
all right. So Mary Ellen has seconded it. Is there any discussion? We'll let Kate go first since it's her motion, Mary Ellen next.
Well, yeah, I would want to make sure that it would be, you know, they'd still have to request it and it would still be up for a vote. It just removing the signatures. So if it's just the same amount every year. I just wanted to clarify in case that wasn't clear with my motion.
Okay. All right, Mary Ellen.
I think that either way it gets on the ballot and people get to vote whether they want to fund these organizations. A lot of them have limited manpower and they're mostly volunteers trying to get the signatures. And I have heard from people that it's, you know, it's really cumbersome for some of the smaller nonprofits. So I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, it doesn't change whether we fund them or not. It's still voted on by the people in town. So it just makes it, and anybody new would have to do a petition and any increases would have to do a petition. So I think it does limit our work a little bit, and it makes it a little bit easier for, in terms of manpower for the nonprofits.
Wait, Phyllis, we'll let you go, but let me get the members first. Jeff?
I'm having a problem remembering. Are they separate on the ballot? Or is it just you approve all or you approve none?
You
They're
approve all, that. You could say, you could in town meeting say, wait, I don't approve that.
Yeah, because I really feel like they should be separated. Otherwise, it's kind of a, if they've gotten money in the past, then they're definitely getting money in the future, because you don't want to not fund one thing, and if you have a problem with, don't fund 7 things because you have a problem with 1.
Right.
That's my only thing about not having the signatures is there's no regulation of what would be voted on if they're all voted on in one block. And at least if there's signatures, then it's kind of a pre-vote. If there isn't the support to get it on there, then it's not on there.
Yeah, it's voted as one block and last
I
year.
feel like I remember us voting at town meeting separately, maybe not though.
I think it was one block for the Australian vote, and I think that at town meeting, we were doing it separately, right?
I don't know, it seems that way.
You guys, hold on a second. We gotta let Mark go. All right, sorry. Says nothing. All right. Then Mary Ellen, then Kate.
So I'm thinking that last year we voted as a block because of COVID.
Right.
And generally we vote separately. And I think that's the consensus. Because I can't remember, because I knew something weird had happened and I thought it was because of COVID. So if we're normally voting separately, then I'm all for getting rid of the signatures.
All right, Mary Ellen.
That's how I remember it, the same as Jeff, that when we voted from the floor, we voted on them all separately.
All right, Kate, then we'll go to Phyllis because she had a question. What's that, Kate?
No, sounds good. If, and this is gonna come up later in the agenda, Phyllis and I talking about Australian ballot. If we do someday move to Australian ballot again, I don't know how that would work. Because I know there's like however many votes or however many options you have for a vote makes it infinitely more complicated to tally. I'd be all for it. I just don't know logistically how that would work on an Australian ballot.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Phyllis, you had a question.
I was just going to say, if you decide to do this, we've already told many people to get petitions, and they've already started doing it for this year. I would suggest we do it for the following year, unless we want to contact all the people now and say, oh, no, you don't have to do petitions. Many people have already requested how many signatures they need, and so on and so forth. So I would just think maybe you would wait the next year to institute this, but.
Well, maybe we should hold off on any vote on this until we decide whether or not we're going to go to an Australian ballot. Because that would change my vote on this policy.
Well, with Australian ballot, with Australian ballot, or what we talked about, the hybrid, you could vote whatever you want on Australian ballot. With anything dealing with money, I would say we do on the floor. If we go to Australian ballot, I would say just for officers and for other questions. You know what I mean? That didn't involve funding. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that.
Why don't we table this discussion with the petition, since, like you said, Mary Ann's already been contacted and people are already in the works for this year.
So as our rules of order, so if we table it, we'll have to pick it up next meeting, or it just fails because
Okay.
So we can vote on it, and then no one can vote, and then the motion fail, and then we could pick it up again because it was just never supported. So that's.
I would, can I speak? I would propose that that since we've already just had this discussion, that we take a vote on it, and we can, apologize to people who have already collected their signatures. I don't think that that's, it's just progress moving forward. It's just my thought.
Yeah, so we could table, or we could take a vote, however
I don't know. Does anybody have any strong opinions?
So, there any, well, I want to comment, because I haven't talked about it yet, and I will. The comment I have is similar to what Kate made, that if we don't know, as Jeff says, we don't know for sure, like what the virus, what state we're gonna be in the next few months. It might be possible that the legislature, whoever, will do something, and then we might go back to a, Australian ballot anyway for the next town meeting. I don't know. I don't know how that would play out. But the concern I have is we'd have 13 or 20 items listed singly on a ballot for the town clerk to have to deal with. I mean, if we want to do that, we'll want to do that. But that's just, that's a kind of concern I have, but. If we list them individually. If we were voting on each one for Australia ballot, that's a lot of individual things to tally, but that's what we want to do, that's what we want to do.
That might be a good question to ask other towns that do Australian ballot. I haven't thought of that yet.
All right, so is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All right, the chair, the writer hears no ayes. All opposed, signify by saying nay. All right, the chair hears no votes. All right, so that motion is not, it fails. All right, and we can pick it up again if we need to. So thank you. All right, so now what do we have left? All right, so petition request, West Hill Cemetery, do we have anything there?
That was, I think there was two separate things on the,
Frank rule on both. Okay.
right.
All right, so custodian update.
Dave Bradshaw.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Bradshaw,
Yeah.
okay, so he's not here, so he's not a lot. All right, so custodian update. I asked Erin, and she's still here, thank you. To a couple months ago, we had a concern from Karen about, it's like, who would Karen call, who would Phyllis call, if there's problems, maintenance problems, or whatever it is. It's like scheduling and coordinating some activities. Kate volunteered to be the point of contact in the interim. But I said, we talked about this at a meeting, so why don't we just talk with, our present custodian, Karen, to see if there's some things that she would be able to, she could be the point person for, for Karen, Phyllis, so that they're not feeling like they have to stay in the town hall when the pellet people are coming, or from the oil people or anything like that. And I just wanted to, talk with, get Erin's perspective on that, as well as any other concerns Erin has for us regarding her present work.
I guess my question is, like, with the coordinating, can you just explain that a little bit more? Like, or did you want me to help with that, or is that what Kate is doing?
Yeah, so Kate, you've not done any of it, correct? Karen hasn't.
No, I've had a lot of failed attempts at trying to get a plumber. That's about the extent. I haven't been asked to do anything specific other than try to contact a plumber. I'm really sorry that I haven't been able to be successful in that.
All right, so I guess that's something that Phyllis, you're better at this than I am for that issue. That's what we're looking for, right? To see if we could have someone to like coordinate those things, like to call the plumber and.
Well, I don't know what I heard that you wanted somebody to coordinate. We had talked about getting a custodian that could do things that Erin couldn't do.
Okay.
A different person that could put light bulbs up in the top ceiling up here, could check furnaces and things that, custodians generally do. But if you're talking about just Erin having her coordinate that, find people to do that, that might be a good way to do that. I don't know who we could hire part-time. It's hard to find somebody part-time to do that custodial kind of work. So maybe it is a better idea to have Aaron, if he could, try to find people to come and do that as a subcontractor kind of thing, you know what I mean? I mean, that sounds like to me a good idea, if Aaron thinks she can do that.
If you could maybe just.
For instance, we need 2 light bulbs changed out here.
Well, I'm kind of concerned about that because we changed it before and they seem to go out pretty fast. So I don't know if there's a short.
So we need an electrician, you said.
Yeah.
So that would be a prime example. Then we would say, Aaron, we want you to find this electrician to come and do that.
Okay.
That'd be an example of coordinating.
Is that something that we would think is possible, or
I can give it a shot. I mean, I'll do my best.
Jeff, you got a question?
So doesn't Sandy use one of the compos?
Yes.
Mr. Compo to kind of
Do something, yes.
take care of that kind of stuff.
Something, yes.
And he's not there all the time, so
Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might want to call him up and see if he'd be available for checking that kind of stuff.
That would be a good name to give to Aaron, right?
Yeah, so we could,
Like if I could get like a list.
Possibilities.
names,
As we
numbers.
find out who might be good at that, we can give that name to you to put in your list, you know.
And you won't be doing it for free. I mean,
No.
Yeah.
That's-
No.
Okay.
But I do have a couple questions though, just about my job description. Can I start hauling some stuff out, like basement, and what can I chuck? Because stuff is just sitting down there and I'd like to get it cleared up and as neat as possible for a basement with a dirt floor.
So is there anything that prohibits you from doing that? Number,
Like, I mean, if rules to what I would leave out for snook and, or what I shouldn't touch down there. I just want to know because I want to really organize it and make it as neat as possible. And there's stuff in the dressing room that's just like
Old lights.
old lights, because I just went through the stage, the dressing rooms, cleaned everything up. But it's just a pile of junk. Well, sorry, I mean, it might not be junk, but it looks like
Somebody's
junk to me. It looks very
Valuable
old.
artifact.
Now been there 10 years. I mean,
It's, I mean, it's been there since I started anyway, but I'm sure it's been there longer.
if,
what do you think of that?
well, if you want, I can come by with my truck and bring some stuff over, because Snook can open the transfer station for us on an off day.
Okay,
And so if you just tell me on a date, and I can help you carry stuff out. if you need to.
sure.
I'm not, I don't have a ton of time, but if we had,
No, if we could.
like an
plan
hour or
time
something once in a while.
Yeah, yeah, I just want to know what I can or cannot touch. I don't want to get rid of anything that.
Well, the lights are if it's fluorescent lights, we probably have to do that at the hazardous material thing. But we could potentially store them in the extra building at the transfer station that we don't use anymore. So, I mean, there are options to just get them out of here, because they probably we should clean everything up.
Yeah.
If you're looking at these things and it's something you can do, let's do it.
Yeah.
So Aaron, what I'm hearing is you want to make sure that you're able to do the activities that are aligned in the job description.
Yeah, I want to do the job that I want for a life,
Right.
but I don't want to I don't mind helping. I'll do the best I can, but I don't want to say yes to something and then be like, oh my goodness, I don't think.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Erin does, I mean, she does a fantastic job. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say enough about what Erin does around here in Hospitality. It's just a beautiful job, so we wanna make sure we keep her on it.
Yeah, and that's
And
why.
one other thing I wanted to mention, that I wish we could, subcontract to Erin, is to wash these windows on the outside. Can we
Oh, yeah,
hire a
actually,
window
we just-
washer to wash all the windows on the outside? They're way too high for her to be going up on. She could
What are those things like?
tweeze,
pressure?
Oh, the pressure power washes.
Yeah, that would be great for reaching these.
Well, we could probably rent, I mean, if you wanted to do that, we could rent one for what, $35 for half a day or something?
Yeah. 'Cause
So-
I'm willing to do it, but to really get up with just a squeegee and stuff, that's kind of.
So we did have that town hall budget, and is Karen on or not?
She's not.
Okay, because I know we had discussion in the past about what we use that budget for. Was it just big ticket infrastructure things like calling Max, well, not even big, but calling Max Quail in to, you know, touch up the peeling paint and plaster, whatever? Or is it something like we could use it for the, you know, using a power washer or renting a power washer, so Aaron could rent it or whatever and get the, or get other activities done?
I think you could use it for that, or, I think you could use it for that, or put it in her budget, either way, we're gonna pay for it.
Well, it's like,
Well, yeah, regardless, at this point, if that's what we need, we might as well do it. It's not, that's the kind of expenditure that nobody should have to come to the select board for $35 to just do their job. You know, as long as you check with Karen or something. But I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't just
yeah,
be.
it's in Aaron's thing.
Well,
Yeah.
right, why I brought it up, I thought I had to hire somebody extra, but she can do it.
Yeah, if you want to do it, or what about a telescoping thing for the, it might be too fiery to put the pressure. Telescoping handle for the squeegee, it's probably too far to really be able to, yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it's just because it's really awkward, because it's kind of like bumpy and stuff. It's just like, it's not like right here. I can get on the ladder and do it for the inside, but also it's just outside, so it's extra dirty.
Yeah.
And that blind over there, when I went through all those windows and washed down all the blinds and stuff, that's jammed. I cannot get that down. I've tried every angle to try to pull that blind down. I didn't know if anyone else. That's why it's still up like that.
Well, Jeff, we'll go give it a try when you finish up.
I'm only probably 2 inches high. Maybe the fire department, since it's so high, I have to get the ladder.
I had Mark in an OSHA violation earlier this year.
This is recorded.
Why will we talk about that? But thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, and did you still need me to the shoveling? We discussed the shoveling.
Oh, right.
Did you still need me for that, or is that covered now? since
Well,
there's-
we are down a man. So, I mean, are you okay clearing in front of,
like the town hall and then.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a request. Can we get like an upright shovel, one of those nice shovels? Because if you take a look at that shovel, someone's gonna break their back with that. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's cracked, like it's old. Can we replace it with something nice? So,
Do you want to just go like to Welch's and pick it out? So
Yeah,
that
I
you get the
mean,
one that
or
you're
I-
comfortable with?
yeah,
And then just, the receipt to Gail?
yeah, sure, I can do that.
You can put it on this down the shelf. They have it
Oh.
down there,
Okay,
and that would mean the walkway to Aaron.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, maybe while you're there, do we get salt?
We get it from McKee's usually.
Yeah.
Okay, McKee's, okay, McKee's.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we'll give that a try there. So Aaron, we'll let Phyllis and Karen know that, you know, you'll be our point of contact. And Kate, if you don't mind, since I've already talked with Aaron about this, I'll be the backup person for Aaron. Are you okay with that, Kate?
Yeah,
Thanks, Kate.
thanks.
Right. So any other questions for Aaron?
Thank you, Aaron.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you.
So the next item is, with the, town meeting,
Yeah.
the auctions. So the VLCT annual meeting kind of hit on some of that stuff, the changes in the laws. Because it turns out that most of the people that were the representatives of the towns were town clerks. And so there was a lot of, the presentation before was dealing with all of the changes to the ballot laws and everything. So I was kind of thinking that maybe this would be something that Kate, Karen, and I might want to all do together at another meeting, because we're gonna probably end up covering a lot of the same stuff. And it might be a little bit redundant. And some of it will supplement what some of us, you know, the other people might want to talk about. Because I know Karen's gonna probably want to talk about a few things.
I think that's a good point. I would like Karen to be part of that discussion. So Jeff, you're suggesting you, me, Phyllis, and Karen which we can do because it's just the two of us, so it doesn't qualify as a quorum.
Well, I don't even think we need to meet. The discussion, so you're gonna discuss options that are coming up. I'm on to talk about the annual meeting in which the presentation that I attended was all about all of the changes in the laws for voting.
Well, that's a different thing that we're talking about, isn't it?
Well, it covered, some of it covered town meeting, some of it covered the national vote. So there's a few different things that might all link together. And I was just thinking like, because I think that Karen is in charge of everything, obviously. So her input, she's not here. And I think that her input would be nice as we're talking about it. I think that because Kate and I are going to be here no matter what, but to do it when Karen's here, I think would be more efficient. And, because
Are you thinking about what we were thinking about, some sort of a hybrid meeting? That's what we're
I was
talking
just
about?
thinking the next select board meeting, we can ask if Karen will be there so we can talk about it.
That's what we're talking about. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for the next
Okay.
meeting, not an
Well,
extra meeting.
Well, I want to check with Mary Ellen too, because I know Mary Ellen is the one who asked that we take a look at those other towns and those other options too. I mean,
Well-
Well, could I say something here?
we'll go to you, Phyllis. Mary Ellen, what have you got?
I think this started with a request from Phyllis about how we could vote on a certain thing that she was gonna create a petition for. I just mentioned that there's different ways to do it. I don't really have any, I don't have an opinion either way.
All right.
So tabling it for-
I wasn't
Hold
talking
on till the next
about,
meeting. It's fine with me unless mom needs something quicker. I don't know.
I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm going to get a petition together to withdraw from the unified school district that we're in. I'm going to get a petition together for the town to vote on it. I prefer that to be Australian ballot because more people can vote. However, you can't do Australian ballot because we're from the floor community unless the town votes to do something otherwise. And what we talked about was the possibility of having a special meeting in a month or so.
Special
With that
town
one
meeting.
warning saying, and we do some things from the floor and some things Australian ballot. We were thinking anything dealing with money from the floor, officers and other questions by Australian ballot. So people come in and vote on the officers rather than try to nominate somebody on the floor and nobody knows who's running for what and so on and so forth. That's the only way we could do this vote that I want to do Australian ballot. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's go with March 1st town meeting and we'll warn it. We're gonna warn it on it. People come, we'll talk about it, we'll vote on it. Heck with the Australian ballot. If 50 people come, 50 people will vote whether we withdraw from the union at school or not. I thought, well, let's just go that way. And then some of the community members I was talking to recently said they'd much prefer we did Australian ballot, get a lot more people voting. And if we were to do it that way, then we'd have to hold the special meeting that we're talking about within this next month or so to do that. Then I was talking to the town clerk in South Royalton, and she said, people don't like special meetings. They get kind of nervous about special meetings. People might not come. They may not understand what we're trying to do. So then I thought, well, maybe we shouldn't go that route. So what is your opinion on all this, you guys?
Let's Kate first, since she's the agenda item, so she's the agenda.
Okay.
lead.
Phyllis and I have already talked, and I'll share with you my opinions. Regardless of what we are voting on, I agree that Australian ballot just expands voter accessibility and gets us a higher turnout, which I want to see no matter what we're voting on. I also like that because it's that 7 to 7 hours. And so it makes it more accessible for people that don't have town meeting day off, because not a lot of people do. I would like, my fantasy idea, and I don't know, it might be wildly unpopular, is to have a town meeting, like as other towns do, move town meeting day to a weekend so that more people could come and be part of that discussion in person. And so we can keep that tradition and also encourage participation while having this hybrid vote the following Tuesday for the officers and such. That's my dream.
I think the statute is that if we're gonna move town meeting to town, we got a town meeting to do that.
Just like you
Yes,
would-
no, this is, so sorry, I should have prefaced that Phyllis and I were talking about any of these changes, bringing that to this year's town meeting and talking about it then. So any of the proposed derivations would be for 2023, starting in 2023.
But then it,
Yeah.
Okay. Mark, Mary Ellen, Jeff, with anyone?
Well, for this specific topic, you know, if there's a special meeting, which is kind of a hassle to have a separate meeting, but it would give people the opportunity to talk about it. I don't know how people on the board feel about that, but, you know, versus it being at town meeting, if it was on the ballot at town meeting, you know, it would be amongst a lot of other discussion. If it was a special meeting, you know, it would be a tailored conversation. I don't have an opinion either way. I do like Australian ballot as well, but for this specific topic that Phyllis is talking about, I think it should be a special meeting so that attention is called to it. I think if we handle it at town meeting, it'll just get lost in the rest of the conversation. I think this is a very specific conversation that the town wants to have.
Sorry, Mary Ellen, I'm just confused. Are you talking specifically about that
Well, yeah,
vote
because-
that Phyllis is suggesting, or the
because what
idea?
Right. I mean, we kind of are mixing two topics here. She's looking for advice on how to move forward on her topic, and we're talking about options.
Yes, okay.
You know, so I was just sort of, I think there are different options, and I think Phyllis just asked what all of our opinions are on which way she should proceed. So I was just responding that I think a special meeting for her topic would be the way to go.
One second.
After listening to everybody's conversation, all the conversation.
So Mary Ellen and Kate, what I'm trying to figure out if I hear us trying to or being asked or considering holding a special town meeting just for a particular article. If we do that, this board would need to vote on it. And we need to have that article, and then we would, you know, warn the meeting, and then the moderator will determine whether the folks there make a quorum, and then we vote on that article at that town meeting. And that would be entirely different than the discussion that we were considering, which is having the March town meeting, Australian ballot, or a mixture of Australian ballot and full vote. Is that correct?
Is that allowed with this particular subject that Phyllis is talking about? Is that even
I don't think, no, I'm not under, you know, I
think-
didn't hear Phyllis's particular subject, but it doesn't matter what the subject is. The board can vote to warn an article for a special town meeting.
And
Phyllis, you got a question?
I wrote the article looking on some sites and examples. It was something like this, the Article 1, commencing on March 1st, 2022, annual meeting of the town of Chelsea, shall the town vote on all officers and all public questions by Australian ballot pursuant to 17 VSA for the right number. So you're asking people to come and you're asking them on the article commencing in March, this coming March 22, at our annual meeting, shall the town vote on all officers and all public questions by Australian ballot? Yes or no? That's what the special meeting is trying to do, like a hybrid situation for the March 1st town meeting. So
Okay, oh, so that's what you meant. Okay, I guess I was confused, but, so the
Any
special
question?
meeting would be this, to switch to Australian ballot in March. And then,
And the questions.
okay,
Public, that's how they said the word, I forget public questions or. And then, of course, everything else would be done, all the budgets, all that would be done on the floor, like, yeah. You're only asking for these two things, officers and public questions. The public question being, do we want to withdraw from the unified district? In my case, in this case, maybe there'd be some other public questions, but.
Well, one problem I have with this is, like, we have to, am I on the computer box?
I don't know.
You all can hear me, right? So
Hear you.
in In order to take up that business, that has to be warned. We
Yes.
can't just write other questions in that. In
Oh,
that
yeah, all
warning.
articles have to be warned.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we can't, it'll be like Philip Mulligan's energy thing is, it'll be a non-binding
No,
resolution, and that's not what
when
you're
March
aiming
first
for.
comes, when March first comes, 2022, you will come up with all the warnings. You have to come up with a warning for the town meeting, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that would be, okay.
yeah, and have to be warned so many days. And this article also have to be warned so many days before we
Yeah,
can hold a special
yeah.
meeting. Probably
So-
30 or 40 days.
Yeah, so my concern, it doesn't matter, because you've already, that's.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
If we don't want to do the special meeting, then come March 1st, 2022, we will vote on this. If you, it's like what agrees, obviously you gotta do it, agree to it. We vote on something like this at the town meeting to happen next year, rather than force it through for this year. I mean, what do people think would be the best way to do it?
Yeah.
The best way would probably do, best way to probably do it, March 1st. But without the special meeting, but the special meeting will allow us to do it on March 1st rather than waiting.
Yeah,
So that's the.
yeah, that is correct. So we would need the special meeting to get things moving sooner rather than later, if that's what we were going to.
But as Marilyn said, with a special meeting, this is the only thing we'd be discussing. So rather
It's a
than,
voting
it's on
on-
town meetings, all kinds of things to discuss on town meeting day, you know. so-
It should be a short meeting,
Yes,
in theory.
yes.
And we've had a special meeting, was it 2 years ago? When there was questions about the budget numbers, and we had to meet a couple days after, or the next weekend after town meeting. There was a special meeting that, what was it?
Because something was eliminated. Remember
There were- yeah, there-
they
petitions
eliminated,
weren't-
they mistakenly didn't put something in the petitions.
Correct.
And
Some of the
I
petitions
did
weren't
check
listed.
I
We had a
checked the
special
list.
town meeting once to do, they wanted to do a preschool down here too.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
Special town
yeah.
meeting for that.
And I did check with the elections, and you did too, that in order to do that, you have to have a special meeting,
Yeah.
we can't go straight ballot. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do you all have any other questions for Phyllis or any motions to take action?
No, but I do have a question about, is our next intention to invite Karen to a meeting to talk about this?
About this change, about the special meeting, you mean?
No, just to, because Jeff had started a conversation with wanting Karen here to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I
I-
separation, I didn't
yeah.
realize that,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there were two issues. I was thinking we were just talking in general. I didn't realize
Right,
that.
right. And
Yeah.
Karen and I discussed this at length, so she, you know, she's familiar. with
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, I mean,
Are you
I'm,
looking for a motion tonight, Phyllis?
Well, I think if you decide you wanted to do it, then we could double check with the election to make sure this article was written correctly. I'm looking at their website, it looks like it is, but I would like somebody a lawyer or someone make sure it's written correctly. And if it's written correctly,
I
we'll
don't
have to.
think, I don't know
post
if
it.
that's necessary, because as long as we say that in motion. My question is, should that thing say offices? Or officers?
Officers,
Okay,
yeah. It's an officers is what I saw online. I think I had offices and I thought officers.
so basically, if we have a motion now, we're voting to have a special meeting. It would be what the request would be is to have a special meeting to determine the, so that the town can do Australian ballot for the March meeting.
For the officers and questions.
Correct,
Oh,
officers
right.
and all poll questions, Australian ballot.
I so move.
Is the officers, okay.
Yeah, it
And
should,
then,
I
yeah, it
just-
should say officers. Okay, yeah.
So Kate, if you have that in front of you, you should probably read it, so it's on the record that we.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't.
Can you see it? I don't know where the eye.
I can't. It's just, maybe somebody else needs to.
Karen thought we probably have to warn it 30 or 40 days, so if you want to set the date, make sure we set it far enough
Yeah,
ahead here.
we
so-
should, because we should have a date on it,
Yeah, I put that date, that's probably not the right date, I was trying to think about,
but we should have enough. I mean, a date might want to be later,
yeah,
because there's the prescriptive requirements. I mean, the state requires the warnings, how many, is it
44 or 40?
40?
Karen thought, I think Karen tell me,
Well, the town meeting one is 30 before, the warning has to
40,
be
I thought.
30 days before the town meeting. On
Kate,
March
do you
1st.
remember this? Because you had covered it last year.
I don't.
All right, I'm trying to see if I.
Karen says she says not more than 40 days, nor less than 30.
Not more than
40,
40.
but no less than 30. Most people posted in 2 places. Will's post office outside the office. Warning must be posted with a copy of the voting checklist. So Karen will help me with that. Also says select board must have this meeting within 60 days of getting this petition. Well, it's not a petition, but so you'd have to do it before the 60 days. So warn for 30, but more than 40 and have it before 60. So
Yeah, so you don't have a petition, but the.
I don't need a petition because you're gonna agree to the.
If
Yeah.
the board can put stuff, the board can, move to have a special town meeting with irrespective of your petition. But if your petition, it doesn't matter.
You don't need a petition, no, unless you guys wouldn't do it, then I could petition you.
Correct. If we don't petition it, then you get the warrant, I mean, the number, and then we do it. Yep, that's right.
Mary Ellen, Kate, did you get the picture of the that I sent you? I did it on Facebook
Change the date.
Just now?
just now, yeah. And we, I think we would have to,
40 days, not less
It'd have to
than
be in
30.
if we want to check, if we want to check the language on this, then we probably want to have it.
It's gonna be before.
I mean, I think it's probably.
Well,
I don't know the number of
Thanksgiving,
days on it.
you're not gonna get people on this before
Understand.
Thanksgiving, it has to be in December.
Okay, but you can't, it can't be one, no, can't be one 40 days. So,
Well, then you warn it, you wait to warn
Yeah,
it.
but we don't have to warn it today, we're just voting on the.
Yeah.
We're gonna, right,
Thanksgiving would be the 25th,
Yeah.
so be
So
after
then
that,
you
would be
think-
maybe the first week in December,
maybe the 4th of December.
if you accept the
On a
petition
Saturday?
tonight. If you accept this thing tonight, you gotta do it within 60 days, that's not 60 days yet.
No, it should be because we're,
October, November 17th, December 17th.
It's not nowhere near 60.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
We'll still do it then.
Once you
We don't have
accept,
to actually have the language set tonight, do we?
what?
We don't have to have the language for the warning set, do we? Tonight?
If you're gonna, warning.
Yeah, because that's what we would do.
The date,
We're looking for the date to hold a special meeting.
We would need the language in the motion.
I think so too. So what date were you think, we're thinking on Tuesday, like election day, kind of Tuesday thing, or? Or you rather do like a
I don't have a
Saturday?
calendar in front of me, so you
Here,
can.
let me do it again.
so the special meeting is everybody comes into the
Yes.
town hall.
What are you thinking, Mark?
And you have them on video, and you go down the front office.
Pardon?
That's what
Don't.
they could do, no.
On a Saturday?
I don't know, should it be a Saturday, do you think?
When would Dixon be available?
Yeah,
What's
I
that
don't know.
again?
Said, when would Dixon be available?
Yeah, it's a little bit much to make the date right tonight, I think.
Well, then we,
Well, I mean,
then the motion wouldn't be.
I don't know, it's not hard to make the date. you know,
all right, well then,
Well, Dixon's the moderator, so he's good.
But if something.
We don't want to blindside him, but I don't know.
maybe a Saturday, would be good, I don't know.
I don't know if it wouldn't be wise to table this to the next meeting.
We got time,
We've
everyone.
got no motion, so we can just pick it up at the next meeting.
Well,
Yeah,
whatever wording you'd like to put
I
to
got
it.
you. Yep. I understand.
I
Okay,
mean, that would give us a chance to
yes,
double check our wording.
The dates.
Yeah.
okay, and I'll check with Karen too, on the date and stuff. I guess I was wondering if.
It's whatever the board
It
wants
appears
to
like the
do.
board, it appears like the board is in favor somewhat. Do I get that impression at least?
Yeah.
Okay. good.
general favor, but there's a lot of small little details to work out between. Or we can pull the trigger.
And I've always been an advocate for, I mean, if we need to have the public debate and public discussion, that we do that sooner rather than later. So that's what I've always said. So I stand by that.
Okay.
All right, so then we'll add this to the agenda for the next meeting. All right, Kate, you had anything else for options explored for town meeting?
Nothing more to add.
All right, Jeff, update if you can, or if you want to pick it up some other time.
So, I mean, I accidentally signed up for a town clerk's session on, or Board of Civil Authority session on all of the changes to the election law. But the actual meeting where I voted, I really felt like we were kind of out of the loop. There seemed to be a core group of people from certain towns that were involved in being officers, and you know, it felt like we weren't really part of the whole situation. You know, I think that there were a lot of people from larger communities, and so I felt a little bit out of the loop. It was the first time I had been. With COVID, everybody had masks and they were sitting at separate tables and stuff. So it was I think it's still a little bit weird having a meeting like that, because some people were very much like social distancing, and but there's a lot of interesting election law changes and things that are coming into play. There's a lot of money that's going to be available for elections. So I think that Karen will be happy, because I think that we'll have any of the ballot machines and stuff. There's a lot more money that's going to be available. But you know,
The BCA is gonna have to vote for it.
Right.
It down twice.
So I actually had a lot from that presentation ready to roll for last meeting, but then I realized it wasn't on the agenda. Yeah, and then I forgot to put the stuff back in my briefcase, so I don't have all, like, I could go into a lot of the changes, but I don't have my notes with me right now. And, you know, I think that Karen, it would be nice to have Karen here, because she's been to a, you know, the continuing ed session or whatever it is.
Well, is there any action that we need to take, or is there any specific things that this board needs to be aware of or concerned about?
It was a lot of uncontested votes for officials, for officers. That's pretty much all I did. Is I went in, I was up there. There were a lot of people who were running against no one, and we had to vote for them. And so, you know, I didn't know anyone that was going for offices. And there were a couple people that I recognized from law school, and that was pretty much the gist of the voting part of the meeting. You know, some people retired, there were some awards.
All right, anyone have questions for Jeff? All right, we'll move on to, thank you, Jeff. Transfer station service agreement. So I know we talked about this a month or so ago, but basically that transfer station agreement is, I guess it ended when, Marianne?
Is that the?
Where are you? You're on the agenda? Transfer station is on there? Oh, that's my old agenda. Okay, oopsie.
I don't have my.
That's the Casella, or.
The Myers one
Myers.
expired. I gave it to you and I kind of forgot, but I think it was around November 1st.
Yeah.
So we got.
Do we have a new bid from Casella?
No, but Casella took over Grow Compost. I don't know if we have an overall annual thing.
Well, because Casella, I know the last time we had the contracts up, Casella gave us one, and Myers gave us one, and there was a little.
Kent made that like comparison thing.
Yeah. Now
We haven't done that. No,
Gail
we've done
just
it.
left.
Yes.
Okay, so the other thing, Gail was gonna check on the fact that they were charging us, or wait, did she find out?
She
Wait a
did,
second, she did find out
she
about that.
did find out about that, and I think she's resolved it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know totally, you have to talk to her.
All right, so I mean, I think we should call Casella, and get a bid. And then they can, because and Myers hasn't sent us anything, right? I haven't seen a new one, so we should probably talk to both of them. I'm surprised Myers didn't send us something with the contract ending. So I guess I could call them tomorrow, both, and just see if we can get a bid out. Yeah, let me just remind myself that.
And just so you know, Doug Lyford volunteered to assist you if you need any assistance, whoever's gonna do the activity. So I'm telling you what I was made aware of, so there you go.
Okay. I was just looking at it.
So you're the point person for this, so let me know if I need to do anything to help. So how are you all, what are you all set, Jeff?
Yeah, I wanted to send an email to myself because sometimes forget the next
I'll
day.
call you tomorrow.
No, I need it.
All right, so human resources, hiring for vacancies. I don't think we need to go into executive session. The only thing I wanted to mention here, unless somebody else has stuff, is so we have cry right at
Is it Cry or Cree?
Cree. I
I don't know.
Christiane. Yes, so I went to transport station Tuesday or Saturday, and you know, all that's been taken care of. Gail and Marianne and Snook were aware, and everyone did their part and played their role, and I think we're all set with that. Did anyone have any concerns or anything regarding that?
I went to the transfer station and, you know, she's there, she's talking to people, she's helping people. So I think, you know, all is good.
All right, do we have anything else that we could potentially send us into executive session for human resources?
I think we should go into executive session for human resources, just like literally for about 60 seconds.
Are we gonna see this before?
For personnel.
All right, and we are allowed to do that for the statute.
And I move to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel and invite Mary Ann and Cam to.
So motions are made to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel, and that permitted as the mover intended by 1 VSA 313 A3. Come on, lawyer, help me with this. A3. The appointment or employment evaluation of public officer and employee. All right, is there a second? Second. All right, Jeff made motion, Mark seconded it, and is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 I didn't hear Mary Ellen.
She's muted.
Muted. I didn't even realize. Aye.
All right, so that's unanimous. So we're going to executive session, discuss human resource personnel for the 20. All right, so the board has left executive session for human resources, and where there's no decision or action being taken on that. All right, so we have another executive session potential for from the zoning administrator. I could talk to this without us going into executive session. Tim would like to meet with us because he said he's concerned about our restriction placed on him about meaning to let the board know or talk with the board before hiring an attorney to take legal action or for legal services. He said that it seems like the board is tying his hands, and I said, yeah, that is basically what we said to do. So he asked that we get him on a later agenda earlier. I'm thinking we can do that so that he can talk with us in executive session if he needs to. I'm not sure if it needs to be executive session unless he's going to talk a specific issue, but I can.
Well, it can only be executive session if it's
I know.
town real estate matters or personnel matters. So like
Or
someone else,
attorney-client privilege.
but he's not engaged, so there's no attorney-client privilege that exists, so there's no reason to be an executive session.
We're just talking about this, the policy that we came up with, and he wants to change it, basically. I don't know if we call it a policy.
Yeah, so the bottom line is, I will put him on the agenda for next meeting, and we'll have him a little earlier. Since he said he's not able to do it later, but if we need him to do it later, then that's what we'll just let him know. But if the board wants to move into executive session at a discussion, I mean, I don't think we need to, but
I mean, if something, it comes to that, but I mean, what it comes down to is the only reason we would need to is if he wants to go into executive session because he wants to discuss his actual position, his position with the town as an employee. And that would be an employee matter, but he doesn't want, I don't think he wants to discuss it in public because of the fact that we've limited him so much and he's upset with that.
all right, so unless you, I mean, I don't know how to do it. I don't even know if I should, okay, well, I'll just put them on the agenda next meeting, and I won't put the session on there. All right, so now we're moving on to orders.
We approve the order.
Second.
Mark has approved the orders, Jeff has seconded it. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mary Ellen.
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous. Orders are approved.
I move that we adjourn the meeting at.
Well, I would wait 1 second. Is everybody else okay with commentary and stuff? All right, go ahead, Jeff.
I move that we adjourn the meeting at 10:22 p.m.
All right, Jeff has moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion made to adjourn and seconded. Is there any further discussion? None. Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 That is unanimous. We are adjourned at 22:22. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought that up at the end of the meeting, but I just felt like we needed to all.
Mary.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off. I've
Thank
gotta
you.
follow my shutdown instructions here.
Yeah, I just hear it.
So we gotta make sure, I gotta make a note. I gotta call Erin to make sure she's good with what we said. Just